This is the Hammer Down Breakdown for Hammer and Rails, following Purdue's absolute thrashing of the Scarlet Knights, 96-68. Coming out of a rather lackluster performance where Purdue lost on the road for just the third time this year. All of their losses actually coming on the road in Big Ten play. There was a lot of attention brought to the Boilermakers, especially following UConn's dominating performance over the Marquette Golden Eagles. Kind of a lot of people wondering where the Boilermakers would kind of go. A lot of narrative surrounding collapses or supposed collapses last year and the year before that, late in the season. A lot of those concerns, at least for one night, seem to have diminished. Purdue came out and did a lot of things at a very, very high level tonight. Struggled in that first 4 minute period so far, kind of really struggled with rebounding the ball, gave up 5 offensive rebounds to the Scarlet Knights early on, led to some really easy buckets for them, turned the ball over a bunch early in the game, and really allowed Rutgers to kind of get out into transition, get some easy buckets, and really did not let Purdue get set into their half-court defense, where Purdue is one of the best defensive teams in the country. And coming out of that, that first 4 minutes, Purdue really focused in on not just letting Rutgers get easy buckets on second chance points and easy sort of pick six turnovers that Matt Painter has often preached, that those are the worst kinds of turnovers that you can have for obvious reasons. At one point, you had about a 3-point game. I believe it was 25-21 or 24-21 with about 10 minutes and 43 seconds left in the first half, and Purdue ends up just kind of steamrolling the visitors there to end the half and end up scoring 52 points in that first half. That very well could be the most amount of points that Rutgers has given up this year in a single half. Rutgers is, by all means, an offensively challenged team this year. They don't have a lot of real good shooters. They don't have those types of really high-end shot-making wings that they've had in the past. And that really hurts them overall, but this is still one of the elite defensive teams in the country, led by Cliff, and I always butcher his last name, Amor. I'm just going to call him Cliff. He is an elite rim protector and one of the best interior defenders in the country, and Purdue was largely able to get whatever they wanted tonight. Shot the ball at a level that we had not seen from them in a couple games, really struggling from behind the arc. And instead, Purdue ends up, because of their shooting tonight, going 12 of 23 for 52.2%, ends up taking the number one spot in the country from the Kentucky Wildcats as the best three-point shooting team overall in the country, shooting 40.63% as a team. Kentucky right now at 40.49%. That's the formula that you need with a dominant interior post like Zach Edey. You've got to have guys that can hit shots. And when you as a team are shooting 40, almost nearly 41%, and you end up going 12 of 23 tonight, and you're able to get Zach, ends up having a really good game, going for 25 and 7. It's a game where not many people in the country would have been able to beat Purdue tonight. And this is kind of the way that Purdue fans really wanted to see the Boilermakers kind of get out of that funk. It's all teams go through a parts of their season where they're not operating at their most efficient and their most effective. That's the normal flow of any sort of sports season. The issue was last year at this time, Purdue just sort of did never kind of got out of that funk for an extended amount of time. And so a lot of people, rightfully so, were very hesitant to see what Purdue would do following that late season struggle and following, obviously, the late season collapse coming out of the Ohio State loss. And I don't think you could have painted a better picture if you were Purdue, if you were a Purdue fan, about the response that Purdue needed to give, especially with UConn getting really handled out at Creighton following sort of the massive collapse by the Illini, losing a 7-point lead with under 40 seconds left on the road at Penn State. And so a lot of people were very hesitant about Purdue's response, and you end up seeing a team throw up a 96 spot. And largely, Matt Painter was playing his deep bench the remaining 4.5 minutes of this game. And even, Will Berg and Waddell getting some really, really good minutes there at the end as well, along with Miles Colvin. By the way, shout out to Miles Colvin coming in and getting 5 quick points and just showing the type of sort of instant offensive player he can be for this team. Don't be surprised if at some point in a very, very important game, Matt Painter doesn't throw him in there, midway through a second half if Purdue is struggling and run some sets for him to see if he can, knock down a couple big shots, kind of like he did, I believe it was Alabama earlier this year. But throwing 96 points up on the number 2 rated, adjusted defensive efficiency team, according to KenPom, should not be overlooked. In fact, this is the most points that Rutgers has given up all season. The next closest is 86 by the Illini earlier in the season. And in fact, this is the most points that Rutgers has given up since 2018, 2019, when they gave up 99 to Illinois in an overtime game. So, that type of performance is one that you want to see. Now, can the Boilers show this type of rebound and then continue to elevate themselves heading into the Big Ten tournament, heading into March? I think with this type of performance and with UConn obviously losing, clearly Purdue's going to move up, probably in the poll, up to number 2. But, if they were to come out and dominate again at this same fashion against the Michigan Wolverines on the road, don't be surprised if Purdue does not vault themselves back into that number 1 ranking. But honestly, at this point in the season, it doesn't really matter. You really just want a 1 seed. And I think Purdue obviously showed enough right now to maintain their spot as the number 1 overall seed. Before this gets too long, I do want to make mention of, the absolute incredible game that Cam Heide had tonight. And Matt Painter just could not say enough positive things about the redshirt freshman, kind of glowingly talking about, it's really hard, sort of the position that Cam Heide and Miles Colvin are in, knowing that you might get in the first half, but you might not play the second half. In Colvin's position, knowing that you might not play the first half, but you might play the second half. And Matt Painter was just effusive in the praise that he was giving Cam Heide about, of course, he didn't miss any shots on. He was 7 of 7 from the field. But he also said Cam Heide didn't do anything that he can't do, and really praised him on his ability to be a 3-and-D type player, hit open shots. When a guy closes hard out on him, he's a really good straight line driver to the rim and really rebounds the ball and plays really, really good defense. And that type of role Heidi fills, and even Colvin has shown his ability to fill as well, really takes Purdue to that next level when you can bring those guys off the bench. Because now, at the top of the scouting chart now moving forward, there's going to be an 18 points against Rutgers for Cam Heidi. And so that's going to be another piece of focus that teams are going to have to look at and really concentrate on moving forward. So, shout out to Cam Heidi, who's just is really filling a role about as well as you could hope for on a team that, as Matt Painter has said, he can only start 5 guys, but I think he'd be confident starting another 5 guys after that. Obviously Ethan Morton has started a ton of games here. Mason Gillis has started more than 60 games in his career. Cam Heidi has obviously proven that he can start games. And Miles Colvin has got the talent, and it's abundantly clear that he can start games. And honestly, I think Will Berg could start games. He does what he's supposed to do. He plays great defense. He rebounds the ball. He doesn't turn it over. He gets offensive rebounds. And so that's a really tough situation that I think Matt Painter has spoken about at length. And to bring those guys kind of off the bench that can provide you a spark offensively and play really good defense just really makes Purdue a different team. And when they can put it all together like they did tonight, where the defense really adjusted well to what Rutgers was doing, and the offense just, again, really kind of got whatever they wanted. It had Matt Painter wanted to leave the starters in for most of the game. If he would have left them in for 5 or 6 more minutes and pulled them at the 2-minute mark instead of like the 5 or 6 minute mark, Purdue could have thrown up 110 easily tonight, 115. And that's one of the best defensive teams in the country. That is a wake-up call to the rest of the country of the type of team Purdue can be when they are playing to their best. And again, we still haven't seen a full 40-minute game at their best, because let's be honest, the first 5 or 6 minutes of this game was not great for Purdue. So, coming up next, the Boilers travel to Ann Arbor, a little bit of a different team than the one they saw here a number of weeks ago. Obviously, with Doug McDaniel being able to play in those home games with his academic sort of probation issues that he's dealing with. But a little bit of a different team, but a team that is still really struggling. Michigan has only won 2 games since the calendar turned to 2024, and are really struggling. And right now I'm kind of looking at the shadow of a game in the other TV here in this amazing lounge that I kind of take over following Purdue's home games. But Michigan is really again struggling against I think playing Northwestern. The score hasn't popped up. Really again struggling 55-46 at home against really a Northwestern team that has really struggled the last couple of weeks. So. Purdue's got a chance to, again, extend or keep that lead where they want it. They've still got a 2.5 game lead with Illinois' meltdown. That I'm sure a lot of Purdue fans were happy to see the manner in which that occurred last night. But Purdue has a chance to really, really take control of the Big Ten Conference moving forward and really make another big statement on the road at Michigan before they return. I believe it is March 2nd against a Michigan State team that is trying to scratch and claw its way back into the NCAA tournament. That's going to be a heck of a game. That's going to be a team that is going to need a big time win, and that is one of the few remaining on their schedule that they can really, really, really count on to kind of slide themselves into the bubble discussion again. So again, don't forget to check out hammerandrails.com for all of your Boilermaker basketball news, and continue to watch as Purdue football begins to roll into their spring football schedule.